Are you thinking about purchasing a home, but you're not should be buying, or maybe if you should be renting for a little bit? Well, I'm going to go over some pros and cons of both renting homes and purchasing homes. So this video is going to be for you. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe button so you make sure that you don't miss out on future videos of what it's like to live here in Kelowna. Alright, so let's just jump right into it and let's go over the pros of renting versus buying a home. Pro number one, what we have here is flexibility. So it allows you to choose the neighborhood that you maybe want to explore. It can depend also on your type of stage of life that you're in. If you're a young professional, maybe you want to be downtown close to work and downtown lifestyle, or maybe if you're kind of moving towards that stage of maybe looking to settle down, it could be an option where you could test out different neighborhoods where you maybe want to settle down with your family and in the future. So just always things to look at, different stages of life, flexibility wise. Pros of renting gives you a lot more without the hassle of being tied down to one specific area or one neighborhood. And pro number two is going to come down to cost, and a lot of things are changing now, so it might not be as imperative now in this real estate market, especially in Kelowna. We are seeing high amount of rental prices out there, and there's not a whole lot of options out there for renters. There's a lot of demand, and rent is just increasing it over and over, so it is not necessarily, might not be applicable right now. However, it is generally less expensive to rent. So you don't have additional fees included, your insurance, mortgage, property maintenance, that sort of thing. Those fees aren't included. So if you can make more renting, if you can get better off renting a house versus purchasing a house, some people do benefit from that. I know a number of different investors that have multiple rental properties and that they currently own, and they rent out to other people, but they currently live in a home that they're renting out. It really just comes down to cash flow and what is the return on investment on it. So maybe if you take the difference, what we also call house flipping, so maybe you find a house or a duplex that has multiple suites in it, and the house hack would be where you have other people pay for your mortgage. So if you have two or three, maybe purchase a fourplex, you have other people paying the rent, so you rent out 3 different units and you're living in the one. Other people are paying the rent for your one unit, and that allows you to house hack and live for free without having to, and pay down your mortgage without having to come up with the additional funds. And number 3 is down payment. So this is more, if you're fortunate enough to have enough of a down payment. Now it's kind of getting ridiculous with the house prices, where things are going right now, but down payments are going nothing but up right now. So it is tougher and tougher and tougher, especially if you don't have the bank of mom and dad to go to help out. Definitely a tough option. So some people are more forced into it than maybe choose to be renting versus buying. However, it also gives you time to also come up with a down payment there. So hopefully you can find something that's cheap enough. Maybe go a little bit below your means so you can save up a little bit more and live in a 1-bedroom instead of a 2-bedroom, and just get a little bit cheaper rent and put the additional funds into a down payment, into a savings pot, so you can actually save that down payment to be able to purchase a home there in the future, if that's your goal. We get people calling us every day looking here to move here to Kelowna, also even just looking to invest here in Kelowna. So if that sounds like you, reach out, pick up that phone, shoot me a text, email, whatever you need to do. I have your back, and I'm here for you to help you out through this process. Looking at the cons of renting a home versus purchasing a home. Well, number one, when you're paying your rent, you're really not getting any equity in it. So you're not paying down an asset. You're just renting a house from somebody, and you're really helping them to build their assets. And oftentimes you'll probably find that your landlord owns multiple homes, and this is really how they do it. They leverage your other people's tenants and the money that they put into it, and which allows them to be able to use their equity in that house and be able to purchase more. So you're paying down somebody else's, but you just don't own that asset, which is a downside. Con number 2 is really you could be evicted from it, and obviously it varies from province to province and area by area, and there are certain rental restrictions what you can get evicted for. However, in BC, you really can't get, you can get evicted if, they plan to either demolish the house, move into the home, or maybe sell the house and maybe somebody else wants to move into it, or do a major renovations to the home. So there's multiple reasons. Be aware of your local restrictions and tenant rights if you are renting on it, because sometimes you can get taken advantage of. But definitely look into it, because you could potentially get evicted, which would be con number 2. And con number 3 is really the place that you're renting. It's not your asset. I've touched on a little bit earlier, but you have to comply to the landlord's rule. You don't have a chance to really make the rules. You have to guide and abide by them. Maybe the rules that the landlord sets is having no pets, and you really want to have that dog. Well, if you can't negotiate it with the landlord, you might not be able to get that dog that you want. So you are bound by some of the rules that the landlord does set. All right, so hopefully you have the opportunity to be able to be in this position. I'm aware that not everybody is in the position to be able to afford to purchase a home. However, if you are in that position, the pros to buying a home versus renting a home is really you pay off your mortgage. So with each mortgage payment you're making, you're building equity in your purchase. So a certain amount of your mortgage payments going towards interest, certain amount is going to principal, and all that principal amount is helping to pay down your mortgage amount, and it gets higher and higher as the mortgage goes longer in its lifespan. So you pay a higher amount of interest on each payment initially, and then it slowly goes down. Anytime you're paying more principal down, you're building equity in your home. Or if you have a house appreciating over time, that's also building equity in your home that you can eventually maybe potentially pull out and do something with it. Maybe it's to secure a line of credit so you can go on some trips. Maybe it's for a business that you're starting, or maybe you want to purchase more homes, maybe more rentals, more investments, that sort of thing. It gives you a lot of flexibility that way if you do have a home, and you can use it as security. So pro number 2 is also, so you own this asset, and this asset really appreciates over time. Yes, you're technically renting it from the bank month to month. However, you're leveraging their money at right now historical low interest rates. So owning a home, and it typically appreciates over time. What we've seen in this last year since the thing started, but we've seen appreciation of homes here in Kelowna up to 40% in certain areas. So, and just on our property taxes alone, property assessments alone, they're going up anywhere from 30 to 40% here in the Kelowna area. So homes do appreciate over time, and it's something that you can leverage down the road. It's also a hedge against inflation. So rather than having cash in the bank, it's always good to have something that that will rise with inflation. The values will also rise with inflation. Pro number 3, you don't have to worry about evictions by the landlord. So because obviously you own the home and you can do your own improvements. So you don't have to deal with a pesky landlord or anything like that. So it gives you more flexibility in that way. If you do like to have control, buying a home allows you to have more control over what happens and what doesn't happen. And one thing you wouldn't want to happen is, if a landlord, evict you and then you have to find a place there, and maybe it's not an ideal situation. So that is one of the pros there for it. So if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos of what it's like to live here in Kelowna. Cons of buying a home versus renting a home initially is you might be taking a chance on the neighborhood. If you're not familiar with the neighborhood, you may or may not love it. So if you haven't lived there before, maybe you're new to town, if you buy a home right away without knowing the neighborhood, it might be a little a higher chance that you might pick the wrong neighborhood, and increase the likelihood that you might have to sell it and move a year or two, or whatever the time period is, if you really don't like that neighborhood. So that would be a con of buying. Con number 2 is it's a major financial commitment. So everything else considered equally, you can use some of those funds. Maybe if you had your down payment, sometimes you can use those funds for other things. Maybe it's purchase NFTs or cryptocurrency, that sort of thing. So you do have, it is a major financial commitment to be able to do it. However, it is also an investment. So it depends on how you look at a home, and especially if you do have tenants in it, or you do plan to have a home with a suite or something with tenants that's paying you some cash flow there, that can also decrease that financial commitment and really make it help you out in the long run. Con number 3 is really if you don't have enough savings, the other costs, the down payment and other costs with purchasing a home, like property transfer tax here in British Columbia, as well as lawyer fees, can really strain your finances a lot. And so that can really increase it. So if you don't have either the bank of mom and dad, or if you're really tight on your budget there, it can really strain your finances and really set you back. So it is a really financial heavy investment to get into, and buying and purchasing homes is everybody's, one of the biggest transactions that they'll do in their lifetimes. And people only live in 5 to 7 homes in their lifetime. And so that it is really important to, really make sure it does make financial sense for you. And con number 4 is really you have to pay all the ongoing maintenance fees. So if the roof needs to be replaced, you need to be aware of that. If you need to cover all the repairs, if the water tank goes, if your building strata needs to redo the roof or windows, that sort of thing, it really all comes into, you'll have to be covered. Where if you're renting a place, oftentimes the landlord will have to cover it. So just to be aware of some additional maintenance fees as you're looking to purchase a home, just to be aware of them, so you're making sure you're making an educated decision and not putting additional financial stress on yourself. All right, so there you go. There's some pros and some cons of living here in Kelowna. And if you take a look here, more videos will pop up. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future videos of living here in Kelowna.